Hello, everybody. Today is January 28th, 2021. My name is Joker RU1, and the joke of the video is, Mom, where do tampons come from? I mean, where do tampons go? Where the babies come from, of course, darling, in the stork. Okay, so today we're going to be continuing the book I Survived, and we're going to be in the third chapter of this book. Okay, so let's go there now. Chapter 3. Paul brushed off his sneaker ball one last time, then slapped it on the table at the market. "I'm not taking that," the man behind the table said gruffly. Paul knew his name was Boris. He was the only leather worker left in town. "Nobody wants one of those," Boris said. Paul scrunched up his face, trying to think of what to say to Boris next. "But it's good leather," Paul said. Boris shook his head. "Don't want it." Paul sighed. He hadn't thought of what would happen if he couldn't sell the ball. He grabbed it back and found a quiet spot in the dirt to sit down and think. This park near the river used to be a place filled with flowers and where families sat on blankets and ate crunchy bread and soft cheese, where kids threw their bread crusts to the ducks and floated toy sailboats in the river. There were no flowers anymore, no food for picnics. The Nazis had chopped down the trees and sent the wood to Germany. Nobody came and sent the wood to Germany. No, did I read that a second time? Nobody came here for fun. Even the ducks were gone. People had eaten them out of desperation. Oh my gosh. But Paul had an extra reason for hating it down here. It was something that had happened last fall. Paul picked up a stick and stabbed it into the dirt. As the memory flashed through his mind like a jagged piece of glass, he'd come here with Mayman that day to sell the last of the silver cups she inherited from her grandmother. They had to sell the cup to buy coal for the winter so they wouldn't freeze. Paul was waiting for Mayman as she bargained with the merchant who bought silver. And then suddenly Paul saw a man walking very quickly across the park. Paul instantly recognized him. It was his teacher, Mr. Leon. Paul and Gergard loved Mr. Leon. He never yelled at them that when they kicked their ball through the hall. He told the best stories about the Castle Lee Rock, the crumbling old castle at the edge of town. He told them that many believed there was a dragon that still lived in the tower. It was huge winged beast with a snake head, a falcon beak, and fiercely ferocious breath. Its glowing eyes peered through the cracks of the tower. He would say in the low, smooth voice of his, "Its wings go whoosh, whoosh, whoosh." Most people in town were too scared to go to the castle, but sometimes Paul and Gergar would sneak up there. But even better than his stories, Mr. Leon made Paul feel safe no matter what was happening outside the school. Hold on one second, guys. Okay. That day in the park, Paul was about to call. Let me just load this for a minute. About to call out to Mr. Leon, but suddenly Mr. Leon broke into a run, and two Nazi soldiers came chasing after him. Paul closed his eyes, trying to stop the nightmare memory. The three gunshots, the sight of Mr. Leon falling to the ground and then rolling into the river. Paul had watched as his teacher's body sank down. Even now, He couldn't believe that Mr. Leon was gone. Paul stabbed the dirt with the stick again. He remembered how the Nazis closed down the school after that. They said Mr. Leon was a traitor, a criminal, a spy, but as it turned out, Mr. Leon was a hero. What nobody had known before Mr. Leon's murder was that he belonged to a secret group called the Resistance. It was like a small army, but not with soldiers. Its members were regular people, writers, shopkeepers, farmers, doctors, and teachers. They stole Nazi secrets for the Allies. They blew up Nazi trains loaded with weapons and tanks. It still shocked Paul that Mr. Leon had been in the Resistance. It didn't matter now, though. The Resistance had been crushed in Lee Rock and all over France. That's what Paul had heard. The Nazis had hunted the members down, killed thousands of them, and usually the Nazis didn't just shoot them. They tortured them first so they would spill the names of others in the group. Mr. Leon, people said that had been lucky he died quickly. Paul closed his eyes. Mr. Leon had risked his life fighting for something important. Couldn't Paul at least try a little harder to get a present for Mayman? He couldn't give up so easily. Back at Boris's table, Paul set the ball down once again. "I told you," Boris said, his lips closing in a tight line. "Nobody wants that ball. Take it home." Paul felt a lump forming in his throat. "Please, it's my mother's birthday," he said, struggling to keep his voice steady. "I need the money so I can get her a gift." Without a word, Boris snatched the ball. He reached into his pocket and handed Paul 10 coins. Paul's heart leaped. He smiled at Boris, then took the coins and ran to the bakery, the one all the Nazis' officers went to. Paul slapped his coins on the counter. The pretty young shop girl Mary looked at him and with surprise. 1 dozen Madeleines, please," he said. 5 minutes later, Paul had 1 dozen cookies, warm from the oven, tucked in a little white box. He walked home along the dirt road. He breathed in the sweet, buttery smell. Mayman had said she wouldn't be home until late tonight after Paul went to bed, but the cookies would stay fresh until then. Paul pictured Mayman's smiling face when she took her first bite. Suddenly the air filled with the ferocious roar of engines. Vroom, vroom, Paul whipped around just a swarm of Nazi soldiers on motorcycles came zooming around the corner. They were headed right for them. And as you can see, there's a picture here that's a little bit unclear of, I believe, American soldiers, Nazi soldiers. I have no idea. But that's that. And that's the end of chapter 3 of the book, I Survived. I hope you enjoyed listening to me read chapter 3. I hope I didn't cause you to go deaf or anything. If I did, you know, I sue me, okay? So basically, this is going to be the end of the video. Like the video, subscribe to the video, comment in the comment section, whatever you want to comment. Notify yourself when the videos are coming on with a notification bell. And as always, I'm Joker. Are you on?